Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship My Money Share as we get ready for a split slate on Thursday. 2 early games, 6 main slate games. Adam, how the heck are you doing?
Doing good. I'm enjoying these, medium-sized slates. It would be nice if we could get a little bit better pitching, but I enjoy the 6 to 8 gamers.
Well, perfect. I'm going to change this one from a 6-gamer to an 8-gamer here. It's 8 games. I miscounted here. So Thursday we have 8 games on the main slate, 2 early games. So it should be a fun one. That would be August 15th is what we're going for here. We'll, of course, go by pitcher by game, and then we'll loop back at the end talking about the different sites pricing. But I do want to remind everybody about a couple promotions, including the biggest one that we have ever done here at Osmo. This is to celebrate the Draft Central, which is set up here with Alex's projections for season-long sports, along with ADP, the different scoring systems from the different sites, etc. But you can check that out. That's something that is available to everyone because Alex is offering free season-long fantasy football projections. So that's going to be fun. Now, how do you take part in this contest? Very simply, go on Twitter to the Osmo account. That would be Osmo_COM. And then from there, you will see the pinned tweet. It says, in honor of debuting the season-long fantasy football projections and rankings from the number one DFS player, we're having our biggest giveaway. All you got to do is like and retweet this tweet. Follow the Osmo_COM account, which you should be doing now. Follow the @Osmo NFL account, and then reply with the player that stands out the most in these rankings. That's right, that stands out the most, which means just type in a player name, and you will be eligible to be among the 10 random winners that will be drawn on August 20th. And you will receive, if you win, 30 days of Osmo Premium content. And if you are already a member, you can get a 30-minute coaching session from Osmo himself. So pretty good deal there. In any event, let's jump on into our 2 early games here, Adam. Got to be a glutton for punishment if you are playing early baseball at this point in the season. But we have the Mariners who have not announced a pitcher. That means they're probably going to put one of their openers out. It's going to be most likely one of their lefties. That is going to be the bulk reliever. They will be facing Spencer Turnbull as they wrap up this series here in Detroit. The other early game is going to be the Dodgers finishing up in Miami. You're going to get Walker Buehler at 10,700 on DraftKings going against Caleb Smith at 8,700. Miami has just a 2.9 implied run total, Adam. If we're starting with pitchers, and we kind of have to, on the 2 pitcher sites, we got to play 2 of the 4, Turnbull, Buehler, Caleb Smith, and then Mariners lefty is what we'll call the other one. I'm guessing you're going to want to do what you can to get Walker Buehler, but talk a little bit about the early strategy or short slate strategy when you see that the popularity is funneled all to one player.
Right. I mean, Buehler's really clearly the best option here. He's got a great matchup against Miami in Miami. Tons of righties in the lineup. Buehler's a really good pitcher, high strikeout percentage, low walk percentage. There's no reason not to roster him outside of the fact that there's 2 games on the slate. So you're not likely to win a tournament by rostering the best plays because there's just going to be so much ownership jammed onto those guys. So that's the argument for being different. But he's the clear number 1 in terms of projection. Behind that, I think you're looking at Turnbull and Smith. Smith's a really high strikeout guy, and it is at home. But the Dodgers do have a good lineup. The one thing working in Smith's favor is that we have him a little bit cheaper than he normally is for this matchup. And the Dodgers aren't quite as good against left-handed pitching because so many other good hitters are left-handed. You're getting the platoon advantage for Smith against Bellinger, Muncy, Seager. Peterson probably won't be in the lineup. So it's still a really, really dangerous team, but it's not quite as advantageous for the Dodgers. And then, with Turnbull, he's a pretty decent pitcher. He's affordably priced. The Mariners have one of the highest strikeout percentages in baseball right now. But the thing working against Turnbull is that most of the Seattle lineup most likely will be left-handed. And Turnbull, while he has put up really good numbers this year against righties with a 25.5% strikeout percentage, he's only struck out about 17% of lefties with a 354 expected WOBA, 163 expected ISO. So you're kind of getting opposite problems where Smith is the better strikeout guy in the tougher matchup, but is going to have more of a platoon advantage against this lineup, whereas Turnbull has the much more favorable matchup, but doesn't have the platoon advantage against a lot of guys.
Right, that is going to wrap up our brief introduction there on the 2-game early slate. We do have an 8-game evening slate here, the main slate, as we like to call it. Our first one here that we're going to talk about, seeing a couple different things, but we've got Cleveland at New York. This one should be providing us some runs. So we've got for Cleveland, it's going to be Adam Plutko. And then for the Yankees, I'm seeing two different things. It's either going to be Chad Green and someone, or it is going to be Masahiro Tanaka. Do you have anything definitive there for the Yankees?
I don't, but I think, didn't Tanaka just pitch a couple of days ago?
Tanaka
could be wrong.
Last pitched on August 11th. The days all run together.
Yeah, so it's not Tanaka then.
All right, then let's go with Chad Green and potential bullpen here. Things got kind of mucked up with them when they had that doubleheader with Baltimore the other day.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the 15th, but he'd be on 3 days rest. There's like no way that they're doing that. So yeah, I assume that it is Chad Green here. And it's not a good matchup against Cleveland anyway. Not a lot of strikeouts. Puig should be back. So I'm not interested in pitching on either side. Just a brutal matchup for both.
Let's see. This one, I love. I'm just looking to see what they say over here on the MLB probable pitchers page. That's MLB.com. They're saying for Plutko is in his only career start against the Yankees, he allowed 2 runs on 3 hits in 6 innings. Keep up the
That
good.
is so. I mean, I'm guessing they just like try and be positive.
That's the only thing I can think of as well. The other day they had when it was Edwin Jackson, they were talking about how Edwin Jackson's whatever record while he was in Comerica Park, because he was of course back with Detroit for his second stint, because they are so in trouble. I think he pitched for Detroit like 10 years ago.
Right.
Nothing.
I mean, I guess it's probably not a good look for like MLB.com to be like, this guy's going to get blasted.
Yes, that is actually fair. Stay on brand, but goodness gracious. All right, moving along, let's get into something we can sink our teeth into. This is a nice one. We've got the Chicago Cubs in Philadelphia taking on the Phillies. Yu Darvish coming in at 9,700 on DraftKings. We have Drew Smyly at 6,600. So that is going to be an intriguing price point as we work our way through things here. Chicago is got a 5.1 implied run total. The Phillies have a 4.5 implied run total themselves. It's going to be in the mid-70s. Heavy humidity. Humidity is going to be in the 75 to 85% range. There is going to be a 10 to 15% chance of scattered showers in the area. So check back closer to lock, because it sounds like we may want these pitchers. It feels like we could be looking at, I've used this description before, Adam, two of the old school battleships coming together and just blasting each other with cannons as the people swing from deck to deck to go do battle. We're going to hope our pitchers survive on this slate. But what do you like about Darvish, who has been limiting the walks? Strikeouts have been there for him. Not the easiest of matchups against them.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent spot for Darvish. Like you said, he's corrected whatever issues he was having at the beginning of the year and started to bring the walk rate down. Strikeouts have been there for him all season long, and they continue to be. He has a 28.6% strikeout percentage, which I believe is the highest on the slate, because Buehler and Caleb Smith are not on it. So all that's working in his favor. It is a good park for home runs, which works against him because he has allowed 1.77 home runs per 9 innings this year, but not the scariest Philly lineup. You have Rhys Hoskins hitting like a minor leaguer. Not that that's necessarily going to continue, but I mean, the bottom of this order, you're probably going to get something like Sean Rodriguez, Cesar Hernandez, Roman Quinn, the pitcher. They're dealing with some injuries, so not as deep a lineup as it was at other times this year. And there's just not a lot of pitching on the slate. So I think Darvish is a good option. Smiley's pretty scary. The strikeout stuff has been decent this year, but he's starting to resemble the Drew Smyly that he was before he came to Philly. He's throwing his cutter more, which in place of his fastball, which is good, but still a double-digit walk percentage, still giving up a ton of home runs. And the Cubs have a lot of good hitters. You already had Bryant, Baez, Almora from the right side. Now you add Nick Castellanos to this lineup, and it's just a really good Cubs lineup. So on one hand, Smiley's really cheap, and the cheap pitching on this slate certainly isn't great when the other options are, Pluko against the Yankees or Payano against Minnesota, Smeltzer in Texas. But outside of the salary, there's not really reason to be interested in Smiley.
Yeah, and I just wanted to take a step back here for Darvish just for a second. For me, it feels like he's much maligned, and we don't know. We're like, oh, I can't believe he treats us poorly. Well, he usually treats us poorly because it's his price. And when he gets in trouble, he really gets in trouble. But if we look back over his last 730 hitters faced, he has a 4.2 xFIP, a 28% strikeout rate. It's lefties that get to him. But he's been pretty good against righties there. So just wanted to call that out, that sometimes you want to take a look at things at a different angle just to see if our biases are impeding things. And I think that may have been, or may be the case for me with regards to Darvish, and I suspect other people feel similarly. All right, we have our next game here, battle of the, the NL Central squads here. You've got Michael Wacha at 5,400 going into the Great American Ballpark, taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Reds coming in with a 5.4 implied run total, 4.2 for the Cardinals. That feels low. Oh, but wait, Adam, it's Sonny Gray on the mound. Sorry, he's only 9,100, so not quite at that $10,000 mark. What do you want to do with Sonny Gray? Because I know you always have thoughts with Sonny Gray.
I expect he'll be my highest owned pitcher. It's really annoying that he's still not $10,000 because I should have won that bet about a month and a half ago. But he's got a decent matchup against the Cardinals. It's not great. The park isn't great, but Gray's just a really good pitcher, and we don't have true aces on this slate. He has the second highest strikeout percentage, just behind Darvish at 27.9%. Similar walk percentage at 9.1% compared to 9.2. His xFIP is slightly better than Darvish's, 3.63 to 3.85. Sierra is about the same at 3.96. Really high ground ball percentage for Gray, though, and that does help. When you're talking about being in this park and it being such a good place for home runs, Gray has a really good ground ball percentage, which is unusual for someone that gets the amount of strikeouts that he does. But he's at 53.3% for the season, which is second highest on the slate to Marcus Stroman, who of course has a much lower strikeout percentage. So I just think Gray is, really good. The Cardinals are good but not great, and there's a lack of options.
All right, I'm just looking for any news of any kind here for Sonny Gray. So interestingly enough, I just was curious to see what his next start or two may be. But the site I generally go to look out with pitching rotations, Adam, is the old ESPN. They're actually oh, there we go. This is what happens when you don't control the door in the room that you are recording in. We've got Sonny Gray not actually scheduled to make another start. Now, this is an error on ESPN's part, I'm guessing, but they're skipping him in the rotation. That feels weird, Adam. That feels weird. He wasn't part of that brouhaha with Puig, was he, Sonny Gray?
No. You're saying Gray is not pitching?
No. I'm looking ahead to his next start, not the one
okay.
for Thursday here, because I was hoping he would have a less than stellar matchup. Now it looks like it's going to be against San Diego if he takes his turn in the rotation. I was trying to figure out if it was going to be a $10,000 DK price tag. Looking at.
Oh yeah. Now I'm following, but no, he wasn't a part of that, and Puig already served his suspension. Garrett is currently serving his. Everyone involved is.
All right, I bet that's where they screwed up, because they have Garrett listed as the starter, and Garrett's not going to be a starter.
Oh yeah, that would be weird.
That very much would be. So let's get back to present day now that I've taken us on that intriguing. Oh wait, no, actually it wasn't. Not only was that story long and boring, it had no point. Way to go. Michael Wacha going against the Reds. If we're looking for value, 5,400, there it is. Not the easiest of matchups, because wait for it, Aristides Aquino has been hitting like $1 million. Eugenio Suarez has refound his stroke. Jesse Winker chipping in. You got Van Meter here and there. You got Nick Senzel. And then looks like they've picked up Freddie Galvis. So not the easiest of matchups here. The Reds trying to make a run to relevancy. Any interest at all in Michael Wacha with his $5,400 price tag?
The price tag's the only thing. Wacha's not any good. He is coming off of a start against the Dodgers that gives some reason for optimism. He had a really good swinging strike percentage, had an above average chase percentage against a really good Dodgers offense. So from a plate discipline standpoint, it was appealing. I don't even know how he actually did in terms of results, but yeah, it was terrible in terms of results. So 6 earned runs in 3 2/3 innings. So I don't make it sound like he actually pitched well, but he did get 10 ground balls, and the swinging strike stuff was good. And obviously a really tough matchup against the Dodgers. So, maybe he's figured something out, but more likely than not, he's still the really bad pitcher that he has been all season long. The Reds, not an easy matchup, not a favorable park. So nothing that I like about Waka other than he's 5,400 and, the other guys down there are facing the Yankees or the Twins in Texas. So he's not doing either of those things, at least.
Yeah, that's really about it. The twin 260 plus isolated powers for Waka this season. The 5 xFIP, 18% strikeout rate, 10% walk rate, not enticing. We're back to that price point. So you will have to depend and determine your own risk tolerance. Continuing along here.
I want to just real quickly add, because I made the point about Waka being down there with Plutko and Payano. Derek Rodriguez is pitching in Arizona, and he actually is fully stretched out, and he's less expensive than Waka. So I think that if I have to go to one of these garbage pitchers, I probably just go there.
Okay, that is a fair call out. Finishing up our 7 o'clock games, this one is at 7:20. It's going to be 90 degrees there in Atlanta. It's going to be humid in the 45 to 55% range. You are looking at a 6 to 9 mile an hour wind going out to center field. It is Marcus, Mr. Groundball, Stroman going against Julio. I'm allowing power to both sides of the plate. Once again, Teheran here. The Mets coming in with a 4.8 implied a total against Teheran. The Atlanta squad coming back at Stroman with a 5.3 implied run total. I'm really not fired up for either pitcher. If I landed on one, Adam, I believe it would be Julio Teheran. Just $200 separates this duo. $8,400 for Stroman, $8,600 for Teheran. Jeff McNeil out of commission, and we know that Robbie Cano is out. So all of a sudden, 2 of the key hitters for the Mets are out, and we're looking at the likes of Ahmed Rosario, Pete Alonso, J.D. Davis, Conforto, Wilson Ramos making up the top 5. They have picked up Joe Panik, who was just released last week by San Francisco, so he is in the mix there, replacing McNeil. Juan Lagares, you don't want to have Juan Lagares. So I'm feeling that Teheran may get some traction on Thursday. What's your initial take with these 2 divergent pitching styles?
I don't love either one at their salaries and in their matchups. If I had to go to one, though, I would go to Stroman. Okay. He's just better than Teheran is. It's not a great matchup for either one. The Braves are, a really tough strikeout offense, but the Mets are not a great strikeout matchup either, and they do have some above average hitters. But if you look at the 2 pitchers, Teheran's got a little bit higher strikeout percentage at 21.5% this year compared to 19.7 from Stroman, but Stroman's walk percentage is lower. Stroman's allowed 0.73 home runs per 9 compared to 0.99 for Teheran. Stroman actually, at last I checked, trailed only Max Fried in as far as lowest barrels per batted ball events among all qualified starters this year. So, he's done a really good job of that. He has the highest ground ball percentage on the slate. His xFIP is about 1.2 runs better than Teheran's. If I'm going to one, I would rather just go to the pretty clearly better pitcher in Stroman.
All right, I'm going to be living on the edge there because I'm ready. I'm ready for the LOL Mets to break out at some point here. They're going to tear the mask off and show their true colors. Let's see, 4 to go. We're on to our 8 o'clock games. We have Minnesota heading into Texas, where it is going to be 95 degrees at first pitch. Let me see here. I see that Pedro Payano is going to pitch for Texas. For Minnesota, we do not yet have an announced starter on 3 of the sites I'm looking at. Adam, do you have anything for the Minnesota starter potentially?
Looks like DraftKings has Devin Smeltzer. It seems like that seems right. He last pitched on the 9th. Okay. So he's ready to go.
That should work out. Let's assume it is Smeltzer. What's the price point that you have on him there?
7,200.
All right, 7,200 for Smeltzer, 6,300 there for Pedro Payano. You have a 6.2 implied run total for the Twins. I think that tells you just about everything you need to know about Payano. On the other side here, Texas has a 5.4 implied run total. Texas going to be somewhat interesting going against a lefty. We don't, excuse me, rephrase that. Their better hitters are lefties. They tend to struggle from an average and a weighted on base perspective, but they do have some power. Calhoun, Mazzara, Rougned Odor, especially against someone like Smeltzer, could be interesting. What do you want to do with the hurlers?
I'm really not interested in Payano against this Twins team. They get a designated hitter back, although it won't be Nelson Cruz. But still a ton of power in this lineup going into Texas. The run total, like you said, pretty much says it all. So I'm not interested in Payano. I'm not really interested in Smeltzer either. Not a high strikeout guy. Doesn't profile as anything special at the major league level. But Texas is so suspect against left-handed pitching that with how bad the pitching is on this slate, I think you can at least consider him. But I don't think he'll be a big part of my plans.
Right. And then for those of you wondering about Nelson Cruz, darn it, we don't get him in this, I don't want to say bench spot, but he always seems to do well in Texas. Just going from Seattle down to Texas, quite a change in hitting environment, but he has an injured left wrist. They've done their analysis, their prognosis. Sounds like he will just be out for about 2 weeks. They don't anticipate any surgery or anything, but keep an eye on that one. Never good when a power hitter has, or any hitter, of course, has a wrist injury there. Moving along, Adam, we are going to Arizona. The roof will be closed for this series. Alex Young, the lefty, gets the price bump to 8,100 because he is going against the San Francisco Giants. Giants coming in with a 4.2 implied run total. The humidor will be in effect. On the other side, as you mentioned, you have Derek Rodriguez coming in at 4,800. Doesn't allow a ton of power, but the Diamondbacks are getting a 4.9 implied run total here. If I was going anywhere, it would be Diamondbacks against Derek Rodriguez. But I did like your point about his price, about him being stretched out, and about how we do not have that many choices on this slate in that price.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it comes down to. He's not good. He's not a good strikeout pitcher, but with the roof closed in Arizona, it is a favorable park. It's obviously not Oracle, but it's still good for pitching. He's the cheapest pitcher on the slate. He's fully stretched out. The Diamondbacks don't strike out a ton, but they are a below average offense from a production standpoint. You're kind of just hoping that you get, 10, 12 points from Rodriguez and can move on. So not someone that I think will project high enough to where I'm prioritizing him as far as I want this guy in my lineup, but certainly can help you get to, these Minnesota bats in Texas, can help you get to the Yankees, can help you get to, whoever your favorite stacks are.
All right. Now we got a pitcher we're going to talk about here for a little bit. And let me scratch that for a moment. Alex Young against San Francisco. We can't cross all of our pitchers off the list. We only have 16 to choose from here. He's middle of the road pricing. In a good matchup, what do you want to do with Alex Young?
He's similar to how I felt about Stroman and Teheran. I don't love getting to that price range. I would rather just find the money for Sonny Gray or Darvish if I can. But there are limited options. The Giants do suck. They don't strike out a lot, but Young's not terrible. He struck out 24.8% at AAA this year in 54 2/3 innings in the PCL. So far through 7 starts, 8 total appearances in the majors, he has a 20% strikeout percentage. He's not great. The Giants suck. I'm not going to be upset if I get to some Alex Young.
All right, now we have something to talk about. No, it's not going to be Mike Fiers going against Houston, though he is going against Houston. Houston has 5.1 implied run total. It's going to be 75 degrees at first pitch in I've forgotten it already, Adam. What is our
Ring Central.
Ring Central, thank you. Our new sponsored stadium, Ring Central there, no longer just called Oakland Alameda County Stadium. You've got Mike Fiers coming in at 9,500. Yikes, lofty price point. We're almost going to need a near no-hitter from him at that. But we have Aaron Sanchez, 7,700. He will be making his 3rd start since being acquired by the Astros. In his 2 prior starts, he had good offensive matchups going against Seattle, in Houston, and then in Baltimore against the Orioles. Of course, he did get 23 runs backing him. But in these 11 innings, he has allowed 1 earned run, 5 walks, 12 strikeouts. He has gone 90 and 92 pitches. Feels like we're going to see a surge of popularity for him once again as his price continues to tick up, Adam. Looking at just his 2-start sample size, do you think anything has changed yet now that he's under the tutelage of the Astros pitching staff?
Yeah, without question. So I think that there's definitely been things that have changed, but you also got to the point of he faced the Mariners and he faced the Orioles. So we don't want to completely overblow this and just, the tendency because of confirmation bias is to be like, oh, he went to the Astros. I thought he would be better. He's been really good. He's amazing now. I think he's definitely a better pitcher already than he was with the Blue Jays because he's always had good stuff. The issue has been that, he throws his sinker all the time with Toronto, and that's the worst pitch in baseball. And I don't know why anyone still throws it, but they do. In his 2 starts with the Astros, according to Brooks Baseball, and the numbers may vary depending on what site you look at because, it can be classified. It depends how you classify it. But through his first 2 starts, he didn't throw, according to Brooks Baseball, a single sinker in the first start against Seattle. He threw 13% against the Orioles in the second start. That's, really good compared to what he has done for most of the year. He has an 18% usage rate on his sinker to lefties, 25% to righties. So him scaling that back is certainly good to see. His fastball, he's got a 93 to 94 mile an hour fastball. His curveball has really good movement. So does his changeup. So getting rid of that 2-seamer should do good things for him. The plate discipline numbers weren't great in either of his starts. They weren't bad, but it wasn't like off the charts. Against Seattle, he had a 13% swinging strike percentage, 31.8% chase percentage. Against Baltimore, he was at 11.1 and 28.9% respectively. So perfectly fine numbers, but not massive. Oh my God, he's amazing numbers. And this will be the biggest test for him. Oakland doesn't have a lot of strikeouts in their lineup. They do have a lot of good hitters. It is a favorable park as far as run prevention goes, though. So much foul territory in a spacious outfield, not great hitting weather, and not a lot of other options on the slate. So I'll be getting the Sanchez here. He's my favorite mid-range pitcher. It's just, keep in mind that he has faced the Orioles and the Mariners so far.
All right. Anything on Mike Fiers at 9,500? We'll circle back again at the end here and talk about the different prices on the other 2 main sites.
No, Mike Fiers not great, and Houston is.
All right. You know what is great? Yahoo. That's right. Presenting sponsor of the Early Bird podcast. Yahoo is doing a $1 million no management free NFL Week 1 contest. Now, yes, there is another $1 million contest out there that is not going to have a management fee. However, that contest, 150 max. This contest on Yahoo, 10 max. Yes, it's $25 to enter, but I suspect you're going to want to go to this one first. It's your best 10 against everybody else's best 10 lineups as you compete for a top prize of $100,000. That's pretty darn good. If you have not yet signed up for Yahoo, you can go to any of the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks articles. Those will be on the homepage of Osmo because we're putting out so much content. If they have fallen off the homepage, go into the upper left, click on baseball, click on articles, and you will see them there. But within the third paragraph, you will see the link, instructions, and promo code on how you can claim up to $30 with your initial deposit bonus in YSRPs. Those are Yahoo Sports Rewards points, and they are available for immediate use into any contest. Adam, 2 intriguing pitchers to talk about in our final game here. Sadly, Andrew Haney a little too spendy for my liking on DK at 9,000 even. He missed about 3 weeks, came back in his last start, was solid against Boston, went 74 pitches, allowed 1 run, 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. He made it 3 2/3 innings, but even on a price per pitch basis, if he can get up to 95, that's still going to be rather expensive. On the other side, you have Ronaldo Lopez, who has been a bit of a mixed bag with his results. However, he has allowed just 1 home run in his last 6 starts. That is pretty good for him. The walks have crept up just a little bit, but hey, I'll trade a couple walks for no home runs. He's still striking out, about 0.7. batters per inning, but he should be in the mix for about 100 pitches. Not the easiest of matchups going against the Halos here. What do you like or not like with our final game regards to the pitching?
I like the Angels just because they have a lineup where the good hitters at least do a really good job of putting the ball in play. And Lopez, while he has been better recently with the home runs, I don't really expect that to be a long-term trend. He's got pretty decent strikeout stuff, especially against righties. But Justin Upton has power. Trout, of course, is the best hitter in baseball. Calhoun and Ohtani are left-handed, which has been an issue for Lopez on top of everything else this year. So I would lean towards the Angels bats here. I do have more interest in Andrew Heaney than you do, though. It's obviously a good matchup against the White Sox. For the season, he has a 26.9% strikeout percentage, which puts him behind Gray and Darvish, but ahead of everyone else on the slate. He threw 74 pitches in 3 2/3 innings in his first start back against the Red Sox. It's obviously a much better matchup here. Wouldn't be surprising, I don't think, to see 85 to 90 pitches. And with the lack of opportunity cost on this slate, I think he can be a pretty good play, even with relatively limited pitches.
All right, let's circle around here to the other side for pitching. I'm going to pull up Yahoo. If you want to grab FanDuel, that would be lovely. As we start from the bottom, moving up here on Yahoo, our $25 pitchers are going to be Adam Plutko, Michael Wacha, and Pedro Tejano. As we mentioned, none of these guys really stood out on DraftKings other than for their price point. That's going to be the same case here on Yahoo, but you are getting them at the absolute minimum. Looks like Devin Smelter's coming in at 28, Drew Smiley at 28. Those guys are let's give them the same caveat. Yeah, they're cheap. Now it gets to be interesting. Aaron Sanchez at 30, going to be one of the most popular plays there, but at $30, we can differentiate at other places. I like that. Stroman coming in at 35, that will warm Adam's heart. As we continue up the pricing list, Theron 36, Heaney 39, Darvish 43, and Sonny Gray 45. You can start out with a Sonny Gray, Aaron Sanchez lineup, Adam, and still have $15 per hitting slot. That feels like the early build. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think between Gray and Darvish, a lot will come down to ownership projections. I do prefer Gray by a little bit. Sanchez, obviously, a really good value still. I think that a lot of the ownership, deservedly so, should be just between Darvish, Gray, and Sanchez.
All right, and then what are you seeing on FanDuel that is standing out for you?
So Sonny Gray is the most expensive at 9,800, Darvish at 94. I think they're both really good plays, even at that price point. It's not super expensive by FanDuel standards. FanDuel has Jeff Samardzija listed. I'm guessing that he isn't actually pitching, though. Aaron Sanchez is the most expensive there at 8,400 relative to the other sites. So not as appealing. Like, I would just rather get to Gray or Darvish than Sanchez over there. Andrew Heaney, probably definitely for me, the most viable cheap pitcher at only 6,400.
Right. I'm just double checking here. I'm assuming because let's see, Derek Rodriguez is expected to start on Thursday in Arizona. That's all we got. So they're probably inserting him into the starting lineup because he's coming back up from the AAA Sacramento River Cats, one of my favorite mascots. Adam, any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Not related to this slate, but Clayton Kershaw, I think, is completely back.
All right, there you go. Words to go investigate further because, of course, we are recording this on Wednesday night. Some of the games are in action, so we will have to check the box score for those of you catching this on Thursday morning. We want to say thank you for following along. Reminder, go over to Awesemo_COM on Twitter. Get that pinned tweet. Get in that contest there. Check out Draft Central, the free season-long NFL draft product that we've put out there, and it's utilizing Alex Baker's draft order, his pick list, if you will. And you can check it out by the different scoring systems and keep an eye on stuff because we do know best ball leagues are in full swing. On Yahoo, they have started them this year, and then, of course, they're over there on Draft. Back to Twitter, you can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. You can find me at EmacDFS. And with that, gamers, good luck.